And this brings us to the great project of self-improvement. The magnificent, tragic, and entirely comical enterprise of trying to make oneself better. We are all addicted to it in one way or another. We attend lectures, we read books on psychology, we practice yoga, we meditate, we go to church. All with the vague idea that the I, the subject, the will, can take hold of the me, the object, the personality, and polish it up. We want to be more loving, more courageous, more efficient, more spiritual. We want to get rid of our neuroses, our anger, our selfish desires. But who is it that wants to get rid of them? You see, if you look very closely at the I who wants to be good, you will find that it is exactly the same rascal as the I who wants to be better. The motivation is identical. You want to be good so that you can feel safe, so that you can be praised, so that you can survive death, or so that you can be superior to the people who are not trying to be good. It is a selfish desire to be unselfish. It is like a thief trying to police the town. He puts on a uniform and blows a whistle, but he is still looking for loot. The part of you that says, I must stop being so egotistical, is the ego itself playing one of its most clever tricks. It has disguised itself as the critic of the ego. It is like the wolf dressing up in sheep's clothing, or rather the wolf dressing up as the shepherd. And as long as you play this game, as long as you think one part of you can purify the other part, you are stuck in a vicious circle. You are like a person trying to lift themselves up off the ground by pulling on their own bootstraps. You can tug and strain until you are blue in the face, but you won't move an inch. This is why so much religion and self-help leads only to guilt. Because you set up an ideal of what you should be, and you compare it with what you are, and the gap between the two is called guilt or anxiety. And the more you try to close the gap by sheer willpower, the wider it gets. Because the will, the I that is trying to force the change, is the source of the tension. Let's look at this in terms of the mind's chatter. This is a very common problem. People come to me and say, Alan, my mind is a monkey house. It chatters all day. I worry about the future. I regret the past. I have songs stuck in my head. How do I stop it? How do I get peace? And they sit down and they try to force the mind to be quiet. They say, shut up, stop thinking. But who is saying stop thinking? It is a thought. The command to be quiet is itself a noise. You are trying to shout silence into existence. And the result is that you are not quiet. You are simply making a loud noise about being quiet. It is like trying to smooth out rough water with a flat iron. The water is choppy, so you take a heavy iron and you try to press the waves flat. But the more you press, the more you disturb the water. The only way to smooth the water is to leave it alone, to let it settle. But we are terrified to leave it alone. We are terrified to let go of this illusion of control, because we think that if we do not watch ourselves, if we do not constantly monitor and police our behavior, we will fall apart. We think that underneath this civilized I, there is a raving beast, a chaotic mess of lust and violence and stupidity, and that the only thing keeping us from madness is this tight, anxious grip of the will. We treat ourselves as if we were a crazy horse that needs to be ridden with a tight rein. But you must ask yourself, if the horse is crazy, who is the rider? If your basic nature, your fundamental organism, is something that needs to be controlled, then the controller, which is an expression of that same organism, must also need to be controlled. If you cannot trust your own nature, you cannot trust the part of you that is trying to control your nature. It's all the same plumbing. So we find ourselves in this hall of mirrors, this infinite regress of watching ourselves, judging our judgments, worrying about our worries. It is a state of constant low-grade vibration, a buzzing in the ears of the soul, It is the headache of the West. And the humour of it, because we must always keep our sense of humour, is that we are doing it all to ourselves. There is no one else doing it. You are pinching your own skin and complaining that it hurts. But you can't stop pinching because you think the pinching is the only thing holding you together. Now, suppose for a moment, just as a hypothesis, that this split is not real. Suppose that there is diminution, this oh little man inside. Suppose that the sensation of the eye separate from the experience is just a tension, a cramp in the mind. When you listen to music, do you hear the music and then separately hear yourself listening to it? Or is there just the music? When you are completely absorbed in dancing or running or making love, does the eye remain? Or does it vanish into the action? In those moments, you are not watching yourself. You are the event. The dancer becomes the dance. The thinker becomes the thought. And in those moments, there is no anxiety. There is no, am I doing this right? There is just the flow of the pattern. But as soon as you say, I am happy, the happiness changes texture. It becomes a possession. It becomes something you are holding on to. And immediately you start wondering, will it last? What if I lose it? And the ghost returns. The watcher returns. The point I am leading you toward, and it is a slippery point, one that you cannot grasp with a concept, is that you cannot get outside of life to view it. You are the life you are trying to view. We want to stand on the banks of the river and watch the river flow. We want to be safe, dry observers. But we are the river. We are the water, and water cannot get out of the water to look at the water. This is why the attempt to be objective about oneself, to know oneself as an object, is ultimately doomed. You are the knower. You are the light. You cannot turn the light around to shine on itself. So what happens when you realize this? What happens when you realize that you cannot control your mind with your mind? That you cannot bite your own teeth? That you cannot watch yourself watching yourself? Usually the first reaction is panic. If I can't control it, who will? But then if you stay with it, if you really see the impossibility of it, something strange happens. You give up. Not the giving up of despair, not the giving up of the defeated, but the giving up of the absurd. You stop trying to do what cannot be done. You stop trying to smooth the water with the iron. You put the iron down. And when you stop trying to control the mind, does it run wild? Does the world collapse?